Yeah, so I mean, there's a plethora of issues associated with mold in a home, and you mentioned, so your job is you do mold cleanups, right?
Or what we refer to as mold remediation.
Mold remediation.
So we try to locate the source, have that rectified, and also take care of the mold at the same time.
Okay. All right. So I mean, I know every job's different. There's a million different ways to find mold in a home, but what is a run-of-the-mill mold remediation look like? What's the process? I call you. I'm having allergies in a certain room, or maybe I see mold on a wall. What does that process look like?
Well, first and foremost, because there's a mold law in New York State, I'm typically going to refer the customer to a mold assessor or inspector to create a written mold remediation plan. I can't do that at that property if I intend on doing the remediation.
So that's where that line separates. So as a home inspector, a lot of home inspectors are mold inspectors. So the mold inspector and the mold remediation company, two separate parties.
Right.
And it has to be two separate parties.
It has to be. It's against the law, and it's considered a conflict of interest. I'm licensed as both, but I can't do both at the same time.
On your own job. So, and just to explain to people who don't know, what is the mold assessor doing, and why does that tie into why they can't do both?
Well, basically, they're the eyes and ears for the customer. The law was created for consumer protection, so they're hiring that mold assessor to come in there for them, determine what's going on, how extensive the mold issue is, and put a report together with lab results and a written mold remediation plan to give to the mold remediation contractor. And then the job is performed, and that mold inspector will come back once more again at the end to re-inspect and make sure that job was done within the law and within standard protocol.
Okay. All right. So that makes a lot of sense. So the mold assessor determines the amount of mold, the species of mold. They'll put together a remediation plan.
Correct. I may even know how much mold is there because I went and looked at it.
Yeah.
Wow. We got to get
With
the inspector in here.
yeah.
Let's do this right and buy the book and get the plan written and do the job correctly.
Now that process, you said that's a New York State law. So that has nothing to do with the insurance process. That's just how a New York State wants mold remediation done. So if I'm paying you out of pocket or if insurance is paying you, it goes mold inspector testing the air, mold remediation company cleaning it up, following the remediation plan.
Yep.
And then the inspector will come back, test the air again, and make sure that the mold is gone.
Make sure that, again, there's always going to be mold in the air, but they want to see any bad molds now gone from that air sample and levels reduced from what they originally were.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we called you or the mold assessor. We have raised levels of mold in the home. We want the cleanup done.
Right.
What does a cleanup entail?
If there's no visible mold and you just have elevated levels, typically a mold inspector will suggest that we go in the home, contain those elevated areas away from the rest of the rooms, so those unaffected areas are okay. We'll set up HEPA air filtration, and then we will clean that room with HEPA vacuuming and damp wiping with an antimicrobial solution. Once everything's been cleaned and free of debris and particulate, we'll then treat everything with a botanical disinfectant and then leave that equipment in place for additional 48 hours to capture any fugitive dust or spores or anything like that.
And that equipment is the HEPA air filters.
Correct.
And HEPA is a rating for the filter that it can catch the mold?
Right. Well, we have used MERV filters in there, so depending on the machine, they'll be rated anywhere from 8 to 12 MERV.
Okay.
So, the machines are all different and have different CFMs, so it'll take a different filter.
Okay.
And it breaks it down to like 0.01 microns. I'm not sure the exact number.
Yeah, but it's, and the purpose of that is that because mold gets airborne, which is one of the main concerns about health-wise, is it deteriorates your indoor air quality. We don't want to disturb the mold to where now it's going to be flying around the house in other areas. We want to contain it in the area we're cleaning it up. That HEPA filter is sucking everything up. So you're saying you leave that equipment in place for a time after your actual physical work is going on to make sure any stray contaminants are picked up.
Especially if there's demo involved. I know we were just talking about cleaning only, but now if we're going into a house and I'm taking down affected material like sheetrock, insulation, and things of that nature, now we're making even more of a bigger mess. And that's where those machines really help, and where I like to keep them stayed in place, because now when we're demoing, we have far more cleaning to do.